So well, this week I had an epiphany, which I feel like I have epiphanies almost every week. I'm always having epiphanies, but I think this week, this epiphany stuck out to me. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Okay. So, I had one of the worst. No. Okay. Well, I had one of the worst days of my life this week. And I said worst days. It wasn't like nobody died. It wasn't that type of worst day. It wasn't the type of worst day where you remember one thing that happened that made the day so terrible forever. It was more like every little thing that happened all day went wrong and put me on the verge of like having mental breakdown. I spilled two drinks, two of my coffees. I spilled one, and in the first one I spilled on my clothes, which was horrible because then I had to change. And I was late. I had a nail appointment. I was late. Well, I called because I told them I was going to be late, and we moved my appointment, but I would have preferred to be there on time, and I think they probably care about those things at those places. But I also spilled another one in the car on the way to the appointment. So I spilled two coffees, and just a lot went wrong. And the outfit, staying in the outfit. So that too. And then when I was cooking, I burned Brussels sprouts, and not like just burnt, can't eat, like burnt into the pan. So like the pan or the baking sheet ruined. I forgot to use foil. Just a bad day. One of those days you really want to go to bed at the end. But also, other thing that happened that day is that I found this great I started the day, and it's just every little thing went wrong all day. So it starts. I woke up, and I spilled my coffee on my outfit, and that was terrible because I had to find something new to wear, and it just threw off my whole rhythm. My whole routine was messed up. I didn't get to. I wanted to run at 7:30. I didn't start until 8:15. So my whole schedule was thrown off. And it's just a really uncomfortable way to start the day. Made everything feel a little wrong for the rest of the day. And it manifested itself because just like a couple hours later, I spill another coffee in the car. And then, when I was cooking, I forgot to put foil on the baking sheet, and my Brussels sprouts burnt, and they burnt the sheet, ruined the sheet. I had to throw out the sheet. It was just one of those days that's really long, and all you want is for it to end. But it did. I talked to my dad on the phone at the end of the night, and it really, it was just a nice conversation. And I love my family. It was just a nice talk, and it made me think. This is the epiphany I have. It's that really, at the end of every day, and at the end of everything, really, when you think about it, nothing is just good or just bad. Even the worst day ever, there was something good. And I'm not the first person to say this. People say this. I've heard this said by people. So it's not the first time anybody said this. But I was thinking, what if this could be a new series? So that's what this is today. This is the start of a new series that I'm calling Pros and Cons. It's important, the and. Um, so there's three main relationship statuses, I would say. I'll name them. I mean, obviously, you can be single or you can be taken. Those are two. The third one that I do want to talk about too, because I think it's very prominent in modern society. I think I've experienced it certainly, and I think a lot of people have. It's part of our culture. Is that it's complicated. This will encapsulate your situationships, your friends with benefits situations, your just anything that isn't fully a relationship, but it's something on the verge of a relationship, or where if somebody asked, you wouldn't necessarily say, no, I am single. So what we're going to be talking about is the pros and cons of each of these. And I think what's interesting is it'll show that there are pros and cons to each of them. Not just in terms of, like, I don't know, if you're working on yourself, you might want to be single versus, it's not about what's ideal. It's about how, no matter what, there's good and bad to either situation or any of the three situations. I do think it's complicated. It's going to have mostly cons. Personally, I'm not a fan of complicated relationships. I think define it or don't. I'm single or taken, but sometimes some people like the excitement. There's some excitement to saying, I don't know if I'm in or out, or if something's going on, or if it's just not all that, and maybe there won't be a relationship. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not a fan of it, so I guess I can't speak to it too much, but I'll try, and that's what I'll be doing here. But that's why, similar to my advice sessions, I want to say, these are, pros and cons that I come up with. They are not necessarily pros and cons for everybody. A lot of my pros might be cons for somebody else. And vice versa, my cons might be pros for other people. And that's completely okay. It makes sense that there would be different pros and cons, and that's why some people like being in relationships or like being single. Or maybe even, again, like I said, maybe they like it being, I think it's less people who like this, but maybe they like it being complicated. So let's start with some simple ones. Some pros of dating. One pro of dating, obviously, and this is an important pro, not just because it's the foundation of a lot of relationships, or maybe not the foundation, but it's very important to a lot of people, and it's something that you're not going to get, especially out of the single category. You might get it out of the it's complicated category. So this is a pro, actually, yes. This is a pro of both dating and it's complicated in most cases. Sex. Now for a con of dating, which this one that I care about this one a lot. This one is relevant to me, and it's keeping or losing potentially your routine, having to give up your routine, or at least adjust. Now, I'm a very routine person. I like to wake up. I do a lot of the same things every day. I drink a lot of caffeine, maybe too much caffeine. A lot of people would say too much caffeine. And I like to exercise. That's really important. This is actually something that I think in relationships has become crucial for me specifically. And it's that, see, I like to get up early and do my exercise to start the day. I'll go for a run to start the day, and it's really good for my mind, and it's mindful, and I like that. And so it's really important to me that I'm able to do that every day, or most days. But another thing about me is that I don't actually want to do that. Like, I don't actually want to go on a run each morning. And so, if I'm dating somebody, say, who doesn't want to get up in the morning and do anything, and who sleeps in a lot and does a lot of their, I don't know, exercise, or maybe they don't even exercise, or they do a lot of things in the afternoon, right? They're productive in the afternoon, but not so much the morning. Then that's going to rub off on me. That we're going to wake up and I'm going to want to go run at 7 a.m. and they're going to say, and they're going to be asleep still, and they're going to convince me not to go for the run. Because I'm easily convinced. I don't actually want to go for the run. The run, every morning, I wake up not wanting to go for the run, actually dreading it, thinking, this is going to be horrible, this is going to be horrible, this is going to be horrible, until I've done it. And even while I'm doing it, sometimes that's what I'm saying to myself. I'm saying, this is horrible, this is horrible. And some mornings it's great. Some mornings I get that. I felt that runner's high before. And those are the best days, the days where I'm running and it feels good. But no day do I expect for it to feel that good. And actually, I expect it to feel bad. So the point is that that's something that I might lose out of my routine, but I don't want to. And that's a con of dating, is that you risk losing some of those things that are important to you. Yes, we're going to do a con of being single, and it's this one. It's not one that I think is immediately like a first thought, but it's definitely something that's bothersome. And at least I think it's bothersome, and I think a lot of people do from my experience. I've talked to people who agree with me about this, and it's seeing other couples. And it's not just in public, it's also social media, because couples are all over social media. You know, there are couples hard launching every day in this world. But yeah, I think this is definitely the kind of thing when you're single. Sometimes, you know, you're going out, you're gonna be on the town for a day. Maybe you're gonna walk around, go to some shops or something. That's something I like to do a lot. And you know, you might be going alone and thinking, oh, you know, I could have been doing this with somebody else if I maybe was dating somebody, perhaps. Or so now you're thinking about that, and you're out, and you're seeing all these couples, and you're seeing them, and you're envious probably. And I mean, I know I felt it. You're seeing them, and they're holding hands, they're having fun, they're talking to each other, and you know, you maybe are going in somewhere and trying something on, and you don't even have anybody to ask how it looks. You might have to send a text to somebody, take a picture, send a text, say, can I pull off these boots? And I just think when you're seeing a couple, you know, in the changing room next door, and you know, one of them steps out and says, how do I look? And the other says, you look amazing. You look beautiful. That's probably not going to make you feel good. And that completely makes sense. It's completely valid to see couples in public and have a little bit of envy, experience a little bit of wishing that could be you, especially when it's not, and when you're not in a couple, and maybe you want to be. So I think that's definitely a con of being single, it's also definitely a con of complicated relationships, because if you are in a relation, let's say a situationship that doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and that's where most things become cons in this it's complicated category. But if you're going out, same thing, and seeing people, right? You're at maybe a coffee shop, and at the next table there's a couple. You now you're thinking, why am I just maybe seeing this person that I'm seeing for sex? Or why am I just seeing them one on not why are we not getting coffee? You know? Why is that not part of our list of activities that we do? Just realized I had my camera tilted the wrong way, which we're gonna ignore because it's embarrassing, and now it's normal, and it will be normal for the rest of the video. And in fact, it has been normal the entire video, the entire podcast. Maybe I just won't release this one, but I will. But it has all been horizontal, and none of this has looked like a TikTok. That never happened. But let's do another. Actually, here's something. This is something that's complicated. I haven't been able to figure out where to put this, where this should go in the pros and cons. But I want to talk about parties, because I think parties are interesting. I think, is it a pro to be single at parties, or is it a con? Is it a pro to be dating at a party, or is it a con? Is it a pro to be in something complicated at a party? Maybe. But probably not, because as we've learned, it basically is never a pro to be in a complicated situation. But let's talk. I love a good party. Who doesn't? Sometimes, well, I don't always love parties. I do like to be alone and just hang out with small groups of friends too. Those are very important to me. I think those are when a lot of best times are had. And I think it's important to go to parties now. And I think I go to a lot of parties, and this is a difficult question because, well, let's look at it even deeper. Let's do pros and cons within this category. Now, I think a pro of going to parties single isn't that what everybody's looking for? Is something, that's excitement. Now you're at this party and anything could happen. There's an allure to the mystery of the party when you're single. But what about when you're dating? When you're dating, the party becomes much less important. It becomes, the night out is an event within your relationship. It's not the whole night. It's just a part of the night, the larger night between you and your partner, where after you know who you're going home with, you know how the night will end, or more or less, you have an idea of you're gonna go to this party, and maybe y'all have fun, maybe y'all stick together, maybe y'all split up, maybe you like to socialize separately, maybe you like to weave in and out and come together throughout the night, but only here and there. It's not important. But what is important is that at the end of the night, you'll always see each other, right? You'll always be the person Your partner will always be the person you're looking for in the room. You'll always be able to find them and go to them in times of need, perhaps at a party. Maybe you're talking to somebody, but they get swept up, and now you're looking for somebody to talk to. Well, if you just find your partner, you can always approach them and join whatever conversation they may be in, whoever they're talking to. Now you're talking with them. So that's a pro for being in a relationship at parties. But you do miss out on the excitement. I know a lot of couples, and I know me when I'm in a couple, I've gone to less parties. I've left earlier in the night, because you want to end the night with your partner. You have something to do after the party, which is to be with your partner. You don't, if you're single, the party is your night. When the party ends, your night might end. And that's a whole different scenario, which I guess points for it's complicated, because there's both that excitement of not knowing what's going to happen, but the comfort of knowing that there's somebody that'll probably be there at this party, assuming you run in the same groups as your situationships. And this person will be there, and maybe you can find them at some point in the night, and that might, lead to something more. It might lead to you having a night beyond the party. So I really think we found a pro for the It's Complicated crowd. Although I still don't think that's probably where many people want to end up. Not me, at least. Did I do something wrong and lose half my footage? Yes. Did I already cry about it? You know it. So we're just going to move on. We're going to act like it didn't happen. We're going to act like it's dark out or light out the entire time I was recording and am recording, and we're going to act like this isn't the worst podcast I've ever released. And we're going to keep talking about the things we've been talking about, and we're not going to get sidetracked, and we're going to stay on track and get it all done and learn all the pros and cons, and we're going to learn that really, in the end, what's best is not always something you can know, and really anything could be for the best. So yeah, let's get back with another pro of being single, which is motivation. So this may be a personal thing, or I don't think it is. Let's look at the evidence, actually. I have an example for this one that I found online. And it said, and it was from an article on BuzzFeed. I know, I don't go to BuzzFeed. I found BuzzFeed while I was searching on the internet, on Google. And this BuzzFeed article, it's called The History of the Dad Bod. And I thought this was interesting that it even came up on my search, because I wasn't searching for information about the dad bod, but I was searching for information about whether people gain weight in relationships. Now, the dad bod, there's the dad bod that comes about when the mom gets pregnant, and that's different, because that is when dads gain weight at the same time as their wife, as they gain weight from the pregnancy. It's like empathetic pregnancy. They are so in love and eating together, I guess. They eat the same meals or something. And maybe they have the same cravings. Maybe if the wife really wants pickles, then the husband starts eating pickles too and wanting pickles. I'm no expert. I haven't been pregnant. I haven't had a child. I have 0 children. So, but there's another reason for the dap on, right? And it is, according to this BuzzFeed article, that people gain weight in a relationship a lot of the time. So they get into the relationship and now they're in a relationship, they're happy, they're content, they feel comfortable. And when they feel comfortable, they start to pay less attention to their own health and their own body. Maybe the summer body isn't as impressive when you are with the same person, you're seeing your summer body every night, you know? Whereas if you were single, maybe you would exercise more, you would eat better foods, drink more smoothies, and just get out more, looking for fun adventures where you're burning calories and you're getting fit and you're staying fit and you're staying slim, keeping up that summer body, even in the winter. I know I've had some of my healthiest times have come in the winter. It's really more about whether I'm single. Let's say I go to the airport alone. When I go to the airport alone, I don't eat that much food. But then when I go to the airport with somebody, we're gonna stop. We're gonna get there early. We're gonna sit down somewhere and eat a nice meal, because we want to make the most of this day of travel. So yeah, that's really a pro of being single. The con of dating being lack of motivation, and maybe losing that motivation to keep up what you're doing. But that's on the health side of things. There's also the work side of things. I think on the work side of things, it might be the opposite. A lot of people, and let's say me, for example, like I'm making videos, then I get in a relationship, I might not be as motivated to release, to drop, to film. And so I might go from releasing video a month and 3 podcasts a week to a video every other month and 1 or 2 podcasts a week. And this has definitely been true for me in honeymoon phases. I get a little, especially since I dictate my own work, I'm my own boss. I guess not everybody is their own boss. Some people have to go in 9 to 5 every day, no matter what. And for you, that work motivation probably isn't as relevant in relationship and doesn't become a con of being single or of dating. But I do think for some people and some people are probably more motivated to work in a relationship. I know when I was first getting big, maybe, and I was in a relationship, I would want to work to get a little extra money to spend on our next date or something like that. So you don't know. It could be different for each person, especially with work. It's complicated. That's not going to motivate you to work. I'm going to be honest. Unless the person that it's complicated with seems to want you more when you're successful. But then, honestly, they might not be it. They might not be the right person for you. If that's really what's making them like you or want to be with you, is seeing you succeed in a professional environment. Okay, here's another one. This is one I found online. I went online for this one. A lot of these I've come up with by myself this week. I was really thinking for this special episode, but for this one I went online and I did some research, and I was looking up, cons of being single. That was the main thing I was looking for. What I actually found is a pro. And this is a pro of being single and probably a con of dating, and it is friendships, more friendships. It's this article. It's talking about how you can develop and devote time to more of your friendships when you are dating versus when you are single. No, wait. More friendships when you're single and less when you're dating. So that's a huge one because I have a lot of friends. And I mean, even if you don't, a lot of people have a lot of close friends. Or if you're busy, it can become difficult to spend as much time as you'd like with all of your friends, especially, if you make friends across adulthood in different areas of your life. Maybe you have high school friends and that you're still in touch with, and maybe you have work friends as well, stuff like that, professional friends, and then maybe you have couples friends if you're dating, and that makes it even harder, more difficult to spend time with those other friends that you already had before. So when you're dating, it can be really difficult to spend time with your friends. I've definitely had conversations with friends and had friends have conversations with me about how we aren't spending enough time together, and asking why is this happening, and eventually the reason for it all that we come up with is that it's that we're dating, and either one or both of us is in a relationship, maybe a young relationship, where we haven't struck that balance yet. And I've definitely had relationships where for the entire course of that relationship, my friendships are strained and I might become less close with my friends, at the cost of me having a stronger romantic relationship or spending more time with my partner. So this is definitely a con of dating and a pro of being single, because if you're single, you're going to parties with your friends, you're going out with your friends, you're talking about boys with your friends maybe, or girls, or you're talking about people with your friends who you might be interested in. And that's really a fun part of friendships. And maybe you even have friendships where that's the main thing you talk about. I've had that. I've had friendships where whenever we hang out, we say, one of the first things that either of us says to the other is, so have you been seeing anyone? So one more pro of being single that I want to talk about is having the entire bed. I feel like this could easily go unthought of, but having the entire bed is something you can only do when you're in a relationship. Here's why. It's because, so when you get home at the end of the night, you get to stretch out and just take up as much space as you want. And sure, look, I like a good spoon as much as the next person, but you have to remember that sometimes it's just it can be so satisfying to sprawl out on your bed and just release like a breath, like here I am, relaxed, completely relaxed, nobody here to pressure me, nobody here to expect something out of me, just here I am with the entire bed to myself. I can stretch out and breathe, and go to sleep. So obviously there's plenty of pros and cons to both sides of dating, being single, and in between. But which one's ideal? Because at the end of the day, yeah, everything has pros and cons, but we must want something. There must be something that we want more than other things. And I think, so it's important to think, why for so many people so often does wanting to be with somebody win out? And I think that just speaks to the power of love and the power of company and the power of being with somebody that you want to spend your time with, and really all of those things. And also, you want to hear, you want to be encouraged, you don't want to be alone at the and I say that as somebody who maybe does want to be alone sometimes, but a lot of people don't. And I think really what we learned today, and if I may, I mean, if hopefully there is something to be taken from my ramblings and my trail offs and my confusing statements, but I think we learned that it's always gray, and you can never know whether being single is what's best for you or dating is what's best for you. And so you might as well embrace either and let it happen, and allow yourself to be happy and content and enjoy the things that are good about whatever situation you're in. If you're single, run free, travel the world, go to France, go to New Zealand, go to London. If you're dating somebody, appreciate each morning, appreciate parties when you can find them when you're lost. Appreciate the words of affirmation that you hear. Appreciate every time they tell you you look pretty or beautiful, or when they tell you they like your outfit, or something like that. And really, I think that's what this series will be. It's the pros and it's the cons, and then it's a summary. I like giving the summary because I think it helps us bring it all together in the end. And you guys, I hope, respond to this new series. I'm interested in how it went. I don't think I made all of my points in the best way, but that's part of it, right? Anyways, I have nothing else to say. Bye.